I woke up on what felt like an aggressively ordinary Monday. Phone alarm barking, kettle sputtering, toast burning with admirable consistency. I button mashed the snooze, rescued the least charred trapezoid of bread, and hustled out to join the river of commuters headed downtown. Nothing hinted at cosmic malfunction. The sky was beige, the bus was late, and everyone irradiated the usual commuter misery, except for the clown. He was perched on the rear seat, red nose polished to a mirror shine, silently juggling 3 oranges the size of bowling balls. Nobody, not even the driver, reacted. A grandmother balanced a knitting bag on her knees and stared through him as though he were fog. A dude in wireless earbuds glanced, shrugged, and went back to doom scrolling. I alone seemed to register that a Ringling Brothers refugee had infiltrated the number 27. I tried the universal commuter response. Pretend weirdness is normal. But the clown kept locking eyes with me, mouthing, "See you soon." When my stop arrived, I shoulder-checked my way off the bus, sprinted the remaining blocks, and skidded into the elevator before its doors swallowed me. A breath later, everything blinked white, and I was back in bed. Alarm shrieking 6:30 a.m. Toast already burning. Loop 1, apparently complete. I'm not an immediate believer in the supernatural. My first theory was migraine. My second was sabotage by our office barista. I had accused him of watering the espresso. Yet when I reboarded the number 27, the clown was present and accounted for, still juggling oranges, and now accompanied by a unicyclist in the aisle, wobbling between handrails while reading a folded subway map. This time, they performed a mini pas de deux. The clown lobbed an orange. The unicyclist ducked under it, pirouetted, and rang a bicycle bell mounted to the unicycle's seat post. No one noticed. I pinched myself, hard enough to leave a crescent bruise, then tried to video them. My phone displayed nothing but an empty aisle. I disembarked, dashed to the office, and the moment I pushed the lobby's revolving door, flash, restart, bed, alarm, smoke from toast. Loop 2 had upgraded the commute with a unicyclist. On Loop 3, I skipped breakfast. Toast was becoming pyrotechnic. I left early, hoping to catch the bus before the circus ensemble. Wrong. The clown, unicyclist, and a brand new stilt walker were already on board. The stilt walker's head bumped fluorescent panels, and every so often he'd duck to avoid sprinkler pipes. The other passengers kept scrolling, as though elongated men were endemic to public transit. When the stilt walker's stilts got tangled in the strap of an elderly man's briefcase, nobody reacted. Not even the briefcase's owner, who simply lifted the strap and repositioned it, the way one might coax a lazy cat. I considered bailing on work entirely, but my rent depends on showing up, so I endured. Lobby door, blinding flash, back to bed. Loop 3, stilts unlocked. By Loop 4. My sanity teetered like Jenga in a wind tunnel. I tried walking, no bus, but the circus found me anyway. Halfway across the Maple Street footbridge, I met a trapeze artist swinging from the pedestrian overpass. She wore sequins brighter than the morning sun, and without missing a beat, asked if I had a light. I tossed her a book of matches pilfered from a bar, and watched her catch it mid-swing. Moments later, the clown pedaled by on the unicyclist's shoulders. The stilt walker tip-tapped behind them. Pedestrians sidestepped the lot with reflexive indifference. At the office door, reset. Loop 5 introduced elephants! 2 of them, pastel-painted and bedazzled, marching trunk to tail down Main like they had a municipal permit. A mahout in sequined pajamas used a feather duster as a goad, though the elephants ignored him and paused at red lights, which felt courteous. Traffic continued. Cars slipped between elephant legs as if pachyderms were holograms. A taxi emerged from under the first elephant's belly. Its driver honked at me for gawking. I decided to follow the elephants instead of confronting spreadsheets, but the city morphed into that eye-searing white the instant I crossed the block where my office building stood, back in bed. Loop 6. The entire freeway off-ramp had become a human cannon. An aluminum monstrosity squatted between exit signs, angled toward downtown. A carnival barker, resplendent in a red tailcoat, flagged commuters like a traffic cop. "Nothing to see here, folks, except aerial triumph." He fired a man in a glittery leotard across 3 lanes of traffic. The leotard man arced over morning gridlock, somersaulted, and stuck an invisible landing somewhere behind a billboard. I alone cheered. Everyone else sipped coffee. I inspected the cannon's decals. They featured a Mobius strip swallowing its tail, under which read, "Loop while supplies last." I asked the barker if he knew I was caught in a time knot. He winked. "Come back next loop. We might add a mermaid." Reset. By loop 7, I embraced the chaos. I brought popcorn, reasoning that if time resets, so do calories. Yet the circus escalated faster than I could snack. A troop of plate spinners occupied every sidewalk cafe table, balancing china towers that shrieked like banshees when the wind hit. A mime led an invisible lion on an invisible leash. Children chased the empty collar. I noticed for the first time that circus editions did not replace prior acts. They accumulated. The clown still juggled oranges. The unicyclist still navigated the bus aisle. The stilt walker knocked exit signs loose. Elephants queued politely at crosswalks. The cannon boomed every couple of minutes, ejecting new glittery daredevils who parachuted with umbrellas onto unsuspecting rooftops. At my building, a fortune teller booth materialized between the revolving doors. Inside perched the clown, now wearing a turban. He beckoned. "Come, my linear friend." I stepped in. The clown spread tarot cards painted with household appliances rather than major arcana. He flipped a toaster. "Your future pops up hot!" I groaned. "How do I break the loop?" He chuckled, juggling the deck between fingers. "Finish the show. Every act must perform." I opened the lobby door. Reset. Loop 8. And the circus adopted marine life. The carnival barker had kept his promise. A mermaid flopped inside a glass tank mounted to a pickup truck. She scrolled her phone with spaghetti hair draped over emerald scales. A sign read, "Aquatic contortionist, tips welcome." While I debated whether to tip a hypothetical creature, the cannon fired a human torpedo who landed splashless in the mermaid's tank. Traffic applauded, with synchronized honks. The torpedo bowed, waterless. Maybe physics had taken the day off. On the bus, the clown now juggled 4 oranges and a tortoise. The tortoise seemed chill. The driver still announced stops in monotone, ignoring reptile flight paths. I asked a fellow passenger if she noticed anything unusual. She said she was more concerned with her quarterly report's pivot table. I envied her. Reset. Loop 9 delivered the marching band. They erupted from manholes like musical geysers. Black and white uniforms immaculate despite climbing through sewer grates. Each musician balanced on a pogo stick, pogoing to Sousa. Tuba players bounced highest, occasionally mooning storefront security cameras. By now, the commute resembled a Salvador Dali doodle. The circus sprawled across all 5 senses. Popcorn fragrance wafted. Calliope chords oozed from storm drains. Feathers snowed after each cannon blast. I swallowed panic and pretended I'd paid for the world's weirdest immersion theater. At my building's entrance, the clown sat on a throne comprised of unicycles welded together. He no longer wore a turban. Instead, a ringmaster's top hat towered atop his curls. Almost finale time, he declared, voice finally audible to me, and I suspected, to me alone. Define finale, I said. He juggled. Now knives. Commuter of the loop, he said, slicing air. When the last act arrives, you must applaud. Otherwise the day resets forever. I've applauded plenty. Not sincerely. He sniffed. We can tell. Who's we? Management. Management of what? He pointed skyward, blade glinting. The big top! Reset. In loop 10, I wore noise-canceling headphones, blasting motivational podcasts. Maybe monologues about hustle culture could out-absurd the circus. No dice. The cannon's boom vibrated up my spine. Plate spinners whistled cymbals. Pogo tubas overpowered my eardrums. The elephant nearest me seemed to trumpet to the beat of my heart. Halfway to the office, the clown intercepted me atop a Segway festooned with LED lights, spelling bravo or bust. I tried to dodge. He pivoted, blocking the crosswalk. You owe us thunderous clapping, he said. I'll clap when I reach the office. No. You must clap when the final act launches. What's the final act? Can't spoil the surprise. He chirped and segued away, leaving neon streaks like vapor trails. Reset. Loop. 11 inserted a trapezoid balloon hovering over downtown, casting a purple shadow. A banner dangled. Grand finale approaches. From its gondola, confetti rained perpetually, yet never touched pavement. Pieces paused mid-air, twinkling. I indulged a wild theory. Perhaps each loop's new act represented a missing fragment in some cosmic configuration, like constructing a giant lock whose tumblers needed aligning. When the lock clicked, time would resume. If so, the finale might be the last tumbler. But what absurdity remained? We already had aquatic contortionists, airborne acrobats, elephantine traffic monitors, sewer surfacing Sousa. My answer arrived on loop 12. The sky cracked open at sunrise, but not thunderously, more like unzipping a tent. Through the gap emerged an oversized gloved hand, cartoonish yet undeniably three-dimensional. Fingers pinched a string attached to nothing I could perceive. The hand descended until it hovered above the city center, directly over my bus route. Space smelled faintly of cotton candy. People ignored the celestial marionette. Dogs barked, but only at mail carriers. The circus performers noticed, though. They froze, turned skyward, and bowed. Even the elephants knelt. The hand signaled. A lazy swirl. The clown appeared beside me instantaneously, still juggling knives, but now they were on fire. "This is your cue," he whispered. My cue for what? Final act's about to drop. Applause ready? I'm only one person. Trust me, management has good microphones. I felt queasy, as if I'd forgotten basic gravitational agreements with the planet. The gloved hand gave a thumbs up and retreated behind its invisible zipper. The sky stitched itself closed. Everyone resumed freeze-frame positions. Reset. Loop. 13. Dawn. The moment I opened my apartment door, a marching band member, flute, pogo, epaulets, waited with an envelope that smelled suspiciously of sawdust. Inside was a single index card. Dear audience of one, curtain rises today. Applaud with gusto at 8:17 a.m. on Maple Footbridge, or rinse and repeat forever. So, the big top. I checked my phone, 7:52. That gave me 25 minutes. I could jog to the footbridge in 10. En route, I was passed by the mermaid, now in a motorized fishbowl scooter. 3 identical clowns forming a conga line with the stilt walker. The entire Pogo Sousa band, choreographed into double Dutch, involving their pogo sticks and jump ropes made of tinsel. Nobody impeded me. Performers parted like crimson sea for Moses in business casual. At 8:16, I reached the maple footbridge. The trapeze artist swung underneath it, blowing bubblegum spheres that burst into butterflies. Cannon fire echoed. Confetti hovered around the balloon's purple shadow. The elephants lined the bridge's approaches, trunks forming an archway. 8:17. The world inhaled. Even traffic paused mid-honk. Silence so thick I could hear my heartbeat. Then the final act arrived. A single hamster, wearing a sequin cape, rolled toward me in a plastic ball no larger than a cantaloupe. The ball glowed neon, leaving a stardust trail. The hamster squeaked with operatic gravitas. I stared. This was the finale. The entire cosmic spectacle culminated in a rodent in a hamster ball. The clown popped up next to me, knives extinguished. He produced a handkerchief reading, "Don't underestimate small packages." The hamster's ball stopped at my shoe. It stood on its hind legs, placed tiny paws against the plastic, and gave me the most earnest gaze I've ever received from a mammal. I remembered the card. Applaud with gusto. So I did. I clapped, for a second self-consciously, then wholeheartedly. I added whoops, whistles, stomps. The bridge amplified the sound. My applause ricocheted across the river, bounced off glass skyscrapers, and climbed toward that once unzipped sky. The hamster bowed. The circus responded as one organism. The band blared, elephants trumpeted, cannon roared, clowns honked horns, plate spinners clashed cymbals. Every unicycle bell chimed in polyphonic ecstasy. Even the mermaid tapped her glass tank, sending ripples like drum beats. The gloved hand punctured the atmosphere once more. Descending with leisurely grace, it gestured a chef's kiss, then produced a giant, red, velvet curtain that unfurled across the entire horizon. The curtain dropped, sealing my view of the sun, the city, the circus, everything. Darkness, but not frightening, like backstage hush moments before encore. A lone spotlight snapped on, illuminating me, still standing on the footbridge. The hamster rolled into the glow, squeaked thrice, I'm certain it was, "Thank you," and vanished, followed immediately by the spotlight. I stood in silence, palms tingling. Then a polite golf clap echoed from the darkness, multiplied, merged into thunderous applause dwarfing my earlier attempt. I couldn't see the audience, but I felt them. An army of unseen spectators. Final crescendo, then hush. Lights up, daylight as usual. No velvet curtain, no clowns, elephants, cannons. The street returned to commuter gray. Honking, exhaust, a jogger cursing her fitness app. The only trace of the circus was a single orange on the pavement. Unjuggled, perfectly spherical. Time, blessedly linear. Read 8:18 a.m. I still caught my bus, now clown-free. When I reached my office lobby, the revolving door revolved exactly as physics intended. I exhaled, expecting maybe one last pie to the face, but no slapstick awaited. My co-workers debated spreadsheets, not tightropes. I almost doubted the loops had happened, until I opened my briefcase at my desk and discovered the index card from the big top. On its reverse, new ink shimmered. "Thank you for attending our beta test of pop-up Commute Circus TOM. Your applause unlocked release from closed temporal preview. Should you crave encores, just clap thrice at dawn." Management. I slid the card into a drawer, unsure whether to frame it or burn it. For the rest of the day, I felt the world ticking in smooth succession, seconds stacking properly. Yet every so often I thought I heard distant calliope music. Just outside the edge of sound, I resisted the urge to clap. Still, on particularly dull mornings, I fondle that card and wonder what new act would debut next. I picture flying zebras, fire-breathing accountants, Or maybe another brave hamster stealing the show. For now, I savor linear time and toast that only burns once. But I keep my hands ready, just in case management decides the commute needs a sequel. And I am called once more to applaud the absurd.